And even if we extend that back to 7,000 years, we already have the Chalcolithic settlements in Egypt. We already have the beginning of the shaping of the Sumerian and Chaldean civilizations. We already have the Chinese tribes with a culture, with a developed culture and language. So let's take this realization now. And do you think educated people aren't aware of this? Fundamentalist creationists, or young earth creationists as they're called, have created a lunacy. It's no longer just ignorance, it's lunacy. Because they have absolutely no concept or understanding or knowledge about history itself. At Tel el Bardari in Egypt, we find the remains of a Chalcolithic city in Egypt that was already built in 5000 BC, 1,000 years before the creation, according to a strict interpretation of the chronology in the Old Testament. And these things are well proved, well proven, well attested to. So, literalism forces educated people into atheism. Your fundamentalism, your young earth creationism, makes it impossible for educated people not to go into atheism. Because you're insisting that this is exactly the way and the time frame of creation. And so I want to ask some of you creationists to maybe employ a little common sense or a little knowledge and understanding instead of trying to browbeat people with ignorance. You know, the idea that dinosaurs and humans lived at the same time. You know, I hate to tell you, but the Flintstones was not a documentary. It was a cartoon. Dinosaurs and humans didn't live at the same time. So, you know, you're really creating atheism. You think Darwinism, as you call it, there is no Darwinism, but you think that, and the principle of evolution is creating atheism. But it isn't, it's you. It's you young earth creationists. You're responsible for modern atheism. You're the one who forces people into atheism, and you do it with what can only be called, and I'm sorry it sounds pejorative, but sheer unmitigated stupidity and gross ignorance. And the other thing I want to just ask you to think about a little bit. Don't you think it's a little bit arrogant to surmise that God needs you to defend him? That you have to put so much energy trying to defend God, as if God was helpless and needed you, fallen, sinful human beings, to defend him? And really, if you think that we human beings have to prove God's existence, then God doesn't exist. If he depends on us to prove his existence, don't you think there's something really arrogant, even condescending toward God in that kind of attitude or idea? God reveals himself. But what happens is that you corrupt the revelation. You destroy the revelation. You're the ones who make it impossible for people to come to find God. Because you're the stumbling block. And you're the one who might come past east and west and make converts and make them twofold children of hell more than you. Because you're the ones who are perverting and corrupting the revelation by your models of reality and your insistence on a literalist, fundamentalist interpretation of these things, when it is absolutely impossible for that to be true. Even within the historical period, never mind the prehistory, within the actual historical period, to suggest that Adam died 30 years after King Narmer had put together Upper and Lower Egypt, and that then the Tower of Babel, that is the Tower of the Gate of God, took place after that, and everybody lived in Chaldea and everybody spoke the same language, when Chinese civilization was already shaped and shaping up into the kingdoms, and Egypt was already well into great building of the pyramids. And actually building the pyramids ended not too long after that. So you see what kind of a lunacy that you paint yourselves into in insisting on this. The earth is 4,000 years old, or 4,004 years old, I think, if you take a very strict reading of the chronologies. Or it could be 7,000 years old. But even at 7,000 years old, we have villages and towns and ruins which are older than that already. And settlements in North America that are older than that already. So you need to really try to get a grip on yourselves. And if you can't use intelligence, then try to use common sense. If you can't use common sense, then be embarrassed at the contradictions you create that are insurmountable and cannot be explained away.